building public has probably been like everything for me. My like strongest fans and strongest friends that have come from the internet have been through these like putting myself out there in public and building in public, and a lot of the opportunities that I've had, like paid opportunities that I've had, have come from building in public as well. I think it's also helped build a lot of my credibility.
What's up, everybody? I'm Sharath. I'm your host of this awesome podcast. I do with creators, founders, VCs, and it's called the Undefeated Underdogs. Thanks for tuning in. I genuinely appreciate your attention because that's something it's rare, and people when people give it to others, it's precious. So, thanks for your attention. And today I have like a very interesting guest. I'm actually looking forward to talk about, uh, you know, for folks who are on YouTube watching, I think, and lagging, like, hey, when should I start my YouTube channel? I think this episode is going to be like a perfect recipe for you. Aprilynne, welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. It's the start of a new week, and I'm excited for it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked as well because I kind of started my YouTube journey, in a very inconsistent way. I'll be honest with you, but I want to learn from you because you mastered it. You've kind of like saw lots of lots of methods and frameworks that you implemented in your YouTube journey. So yeah, let me give you guys like a brief intro of Aprilynne before we dive into the episode. She started her YouTube journey, I think, nearly 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong, and she quickly monetized. She reached the monetization state like very fast in the next 4 months. And the following 9 months is where it gets really interesting, right? Like, I took this from your website. She made like 5 figures in ad revenue, partnerships, sponsorships, consulting gigs, and etc. And she got also featured in Business Insider and The Verge. So like that's big. That's not like a small feat. So congrats on that. And she's also like often refers to a lot of people that she's like an industry expert. So we're here to learn from you, Aprilynne, and I'm excited. And she also, by the way, runs a course called for beginners. This is for the ones like me who's just started and wants to take things up. It's called the Beginner's Guide to YouTube, from zero to monetize. So let's talk about that in the show. But yeah, let's get into the episode right off the bat. I have a question about, of course, obviously the elephant in the room, which is, when did you start? Like, I know it's nearly 2 years ago. And first, fundamentally, I'm more interested in the why than the how, because the how is your course. Of course, you kind of teach all the methods and whatnot. Why YouTube?
Yeah, well, so if we like rewind time to around 2 years ago, May of 2021, kind of like where I was at in life at that point, I had um I had recently just quit my full-time job as a Wall Street banker to go full-time on the startup that I was pursuing at the time.
Hmm.
And I had been growing this audience on Twitter, and like the ultimately it came down to, I guess, the idea of small bets. I had been following Daniel Vassallo on Twitter for quite some time, and he had kept advocating for the idea of small bets. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket, put multiple eggs
True.
in different baskets. And I had been having a pretty decent time, I think, creating written long form content on Twitter via Twitter threads.
Hmm.
And I had listened to one of the Indie Hackers podcast, and there was an episode featuring a couple of different people. I think there were three, and one of them
Hmm.
was Ali Abdaal. And he, if you don't
Hmm.
know, is an incredible
Oh
YouTuber
yeah.
with millions of subscribers in the
Right.
productivity and like tech and space. Um,
Right.
and so I listened to Ali Abdaal's story, and I was like, wow. this guy is making a lot of money through YouTube and he seems to
Right.
be loving it. It seems like he's having
Right.
so much fun with what he's doing. He has like, a solid team around him. And so, kind of after that, I was like, well, should I start a YouTube channel? It seemed to have gone really well for Ali. And Ali was saying how other people should just start creating content and showing your work in this other way. And I'm like, well, I've already been showing my work on Twitter. Can I maybe turn some of my Twitter threads into YouTube videos and start adding another bet to my portfolio of small bets?
Hmm.
And that's kind of why I started.
That's awesome. Two of my favorite people you mentioned, Daniel Vassallo. I'm a huge fan. I think when I started my journey as an audience builder on Twitter, this was like 5 years ago, and he's one of those folks who really encourage, like you said, taking small bets, and really like he really focuses on taking micro actions, right? Like do better, be better 1%, that type of mindset. And I think I bought his, how to master his, audience building on Twitter, something like that, his course on Gumroad. And of course, he's killing it. And number two, Ali Abdaal. Oh my God, where should we start? He's one of the household names in YouTube, right? Who has like an underdog story. He was a medical student, I guess, if I'm not wrong, and he shifted gears, and so that actually inspires folks like you, me, and a lot many people who are hearing that anybody can start, right? And so for you also mentioned, I'm sure that you can resonate. You don't usually, like, people who start excel at YouTube, they have no prior experience whatsoever. Like they don't have, most of them, I'm not talking about the professionals, uh, they don't have video, audio, like editing, and like setting up camera and all that. Was that like something that uh, stopped you, or what is something that motivated you to break that barrier, right? Hey, I have no skill whatsoever, but I want to do this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was in that same boat, right? Like I was very camera shy. I didn't even like having my picture taken. Much less recording videos of myself. I didn't like the sound of my own voice.
Hmm.
Um, the whole idea of like being on camera, being on video was like very very daunting to me. Additionally, I had absolutely
Hmm.
no video editing experience whatsoever as well. So it's like, okay,
Right.
well, coming in here and I don't know anything. This is great. I did have one thing going on my side, which is I do think that I know how to write. At least I do think I
Hmm.
know how to write in a way that is somewhat compelling. And I guess like I do think that I'm able to craft most things that I write into some sort of like story or hero's journey arc. So I did have that one thing going for me. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think I just thought that the potential upside of something good happening from the YouTube channel was far worth the downside of learning. And I do think that I was also at this like a very exploratory phase in my life, right? Like right after I'd quit my full-time job and I was like, well, if there were a time to go and learn how to do all of this stuff and to take this bet, it would be
Hmm.
now. Like I
Right.
was it was at the time in my life where I had the most time on my hands. I was like, well, let's teach myself the very basics of video editing, and it wasn't that hard. The to do very basic editing, just like
Hmm.
cuts and like text and like images and icons, some background music,
Right.
and that was like it. um it was
Right.
just very time consuming, but I think like at that point a lot of my perspective was around bias to action. Just go ahead and do the thing. Best case scenario, it works out. Worst case scenario, it doesn't, but at least you've learned something to enable you to do cooler and better and newer things in the future. So I was like, yeah, let's just pour all of this extra time that I have from quitting my job into learning these new skills and trying to get out there. And I guess like also the idea of like increasing your surface area for luck, right? It's like, okay.
Hmm.
And it's like
Yep.
kind of the idea behind show your work as well is as long as you're showing your work, as long as you're doing things in public, the
Right.
chance that someone finds you and connects with you and that connection leads to something incredible in the future is so much higher than if you do everything in private. It's like, okay, I already have this thing on Twitter going on and that's going great. Can I
Right.
double my surface area for luck by putting myself off of YouTube as well? And with YouTube,
Hmm.
it's an entirely different audience. So it's like I was reaching an entirely new pool of people than I was on
Hmm.
Twitter to begin with, which was amazing.
I think you've also so there's nothing to lose in a way, right? That's like that adds a lot of strength because you left a job and you have not you don't have worries like, hey, what are the thing like generally people worry about and get conscious. That to me is like a great place to start fundamentally. And I did the same way with building projects. Like I had nothing to lose, I have everything to gain, whether it can be success or failures, whatever it is, right? The lessons. Uh, so if you suggest someone to start, where should one start? Like right now, 2023 May, what is your brief playbook that you want to share? Hey, this is how you get your YouTube channel going from a beginner's level.
Oh boy. Okay. Brief playbook. I would say my number one advice, which is a little bit counterintuitive for folks, um, is figure out your niche first. I know some
Hmm.
of the bigger YouTubers will say, like, oh, just start making videos. It doesn't matter what you make videos about, just post them. And
Hmm.
I understand where that's coming from because ultimately on YouTube, we're here to create videos, and the best way to learn is by doing, so just make them. But on the same
Right.
side, none of your videos are ever going to blow up or do well if they're not targeted. And so I think that if you figure out your niche to begin with, you're really
Hmm.
setting up your channel for success. And the way to find your niche, I have like a little 4 step framework. First, write down a list of your passions, hobbies, and interests, like all of the things that
Hmm.
you're passionate about or interested about or anything like that. After that, go through that list and think very, very, very seriously if you are interested enough in these topics and know enough about these topics to be able to create one long form, meaning like 5 to 15 minutes long videos
Hmm.
about these topics once per week for an entire year. If you
Wow.
don't think you could do that, cross them off of the list. After that,
Oh
go through them
wow.
again and think about, do you have any unique insight into these topics? Like, what
Right.
unique things about your identities or your experiences or anything else contributes something very special to these topics? If you don't have one, then it's a good indicator that you're not going to be able to easily differentiate yourself in this niche. Cross them off the list.
Right.
And finally, go look at the current market on YouTube. See, like, okay, how many creators are in this niche already? What type of content are they creating? Are there any gaps in their content? And bonus points if those
Hmm.
gaps align with the unique insight that you had from the previous step. After you go through that, you should have like 1 or 2 niches that are like that are good bets for you. If you are
Hmm.
between two, always pick the one that you have the most personal interest in or feels most aligned to what you want to do. So after you have your niche, then it's time to start making videos. And the thing
Hmm.
that I also see people get wrong a lot is they look at like the huge YouTubers like Mr. Beast or Mr. Who's the Boss, and they're like,
Hmm.
wow, these popular YouTubers have millions and millions of subscribers. I should, use the same types of thumbnails that they use. I should use the same types of titles that they use. What they don't understand is that there is a difference in how YouTube treats newer
Hmm.
YouTubers and more experienced YouTubers and traffic sources. So the larger
Hmm.
YouTubers are always trying to target views from browse and views from suggested videos. Those are the traffic sources in which YouTube recommends your content to new people. YouTube's goal is to have people stay on YouTube for as long as possible. So that's your session time.
Right.
You want the longest session time as possible. And so it's going to recommend videos to people that they know will keep those people on YouTube for as long as possible. Um,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what the larger YouTubers are targeting, so that when their video is suggested by YouTube, either on someone's homepage or on like these side panels for suggested videos, people will click on that when they see it. It's a very different
Hmm.
strategy than for newer YouTubers, because YouTube is not going to recommend your content as a newer YouTuber, because YouTube doesn't trust you. YouTube has no idea if your videos are good or not, if your videos are going to keep people on platform or not. So they're not going to recommend your
Right.
videos. So what you have to do instead, unless you just want to get lucky, like a more reliable way to start to grow your YouTube channel as a brand new YouTuber, is to target search results. And so what you're
Hmm.
doing there is looking for what people are searching for, there's gaps in, so that YouTube will put up your content, even if you're a brand new YouTuber, just because your video is more relevant to someone's search than anyone else. And there's a whole process of keyword research. And a tool that I
Hmm.
use is TubeBuddy. They have like a
Mm-hmm.
free keyword research tool. And what you can do is put in different keyword phrases and see what the search volume is and what the competition is for a particular keyword. And so I
Got
mean,
it.
I do a lot more for keyword research beyond that. But essentially, what I do is I come up with my list of video topics. I will phrase
Hmm.
those video topics in the forms of like a question, like a how to question, or other things like that. I will test those keywords and I'll come up with a title for my video before I even make the video itself, because I need to know that this video is worth making, because there is a gap that I can fill with this video. And then I go on and I make the video. I just make the video. Um, but yeah, I'd say like those are probably the two most important things to know as a brand new YouTuber, someone who's thinking about starting out, is really nail down your niche and
Right.
keyword research, target search results.
That was completely new to me. I'll be honest. So far, I've been like focusing on niche. That's something like I know as a Twitter audience builder, right? So the keyword search is fascinating. Uh, how did you learn all this? Like through research, or you follow people? Like what's like the what's your secret sauce? In again, I feel people who are just getting started, you're offering like a course. Of course, that's going to massively help them. But for who can't afford, or like who can, or like okay, I'm just trying this for the first time, where should they go?
Yeah, I first started learning about YouTube on YouTube, which also
Mm-hmm.
I do post a ton of educational content on my channel. So if you want someplace to start out, you can give me a follow on like, or like a
Mm-hmm.
subscribe on YouTube. Um, I started out by just like browsing YouTube for how to get started on YouTube videos. One woman that I like fell in love with on YouTube, her name is Catherine Manning. She used to
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of how to YouTube content, which was super helpful to me. She has since then pivoted away from that and now does like vlog style of content. But a
Right.
lot of her older videos were super helpful to me starting out. Then I also eventually took, after I had been posting on YouTube myself for a while, I took PTYA, or Ali Abdaal's part time YouTuber Academy. Now, I don't think
Right.
I think this is his last cohort, so I don't think he's running any more cohorts after this. Um, but
Hmm.
that was also a big help to me in like taking my videos to the next level.
So this seems like a full-time job, right? Like you have to put a lot of effort, time. You have to like pay attention to a lot of details, and really, it's very time taking. And even from thinking from like doing standpoint, it feels like so stressful, because you have to like, if you have like a full-time job like me and like a bunch of other side projects, focusing on YouTube can be a little hard. So what advice do you give for people who wants to take their YouTube channel part time, not like like you per se full time. What's your process or advice to them?
Yeah, I'd say probably try at the minimum to be able to allocate 8 hours per week
Hmm.
for your YouTube channel. It's possible to get videos done with less than that, but the more you
Hmm.
go behind that, um, the less
Right.
likely it is that your channel is going to be successful. So try to carve out as close to 8 hours per week as you can for your YouTube channel. After that, I
Right.
what matters probably most is sticking with your content calendar, most specifically your
Hmm.
upload day. So you want to designate one day per week to be your upload day. And no matter what happens during your week, a
Hmm.
video is going live on that day. For me, that day is Friday,
Got it.
specifically Friday
Hmm.
morning. So I'm like, okay, by 10 a.m. on Friday, every single week, I have a video go live. From there, I work
Hmm.
backwards. I'm like, okay, so if a video goes live on Friday morning, it has to be ready for upload by Thursday night. And I do personally
Right.
outsource all of my editing for my long form videos, which I
Hmm.
highly, highly, highly recommend. I'd say if you can afford it, outsource editing as
Hmm.
soon as you can. Learn the basics of video editing yourself first so you can better communicate with your editor.
Hmm.
But right after that, hire an editor as soon as you can is 100% worth it. It takes a lot of time off of your plate. But let's say you
Hmm.
can't afford an editor because they are expensive. Okay, so
Hmm.
you have your video that goes live on Friday morning. I might allocate then Wednesday and Thursday for video editing. So I'm like, okay, I can edit my
Hmm.
videos on Wednesday and Thursday. So my video is ready to go live on Friday. If I'm editing starting on Wednesday morning, then that means that my video needs to be filmed by Tuesday night. So I'm like, okay, perhaps Tuesday is my filming day. Okay, that means that the video needs to
Right.
be ready to be filmed on Tuesday. So I can maybe have Monday or
Right.
even Sunday if I wanted to be my scripting day or days. It's like, okay, I
Hmm.
take Sunday and Monday to script my video. Tuesday is my filming day. Wednesday and Thursday can spend editing, and then Friday is my upload day. And then I have like Friday and Saturday is like chill slash flex time. Um, and that's kind of like
Right.
what your week would look like. And when I say these days, I don't mean like, okay, like the entire day is for this, but if Tuesday is my film day,
Absolutely. Yeah.
then I would know, hey, I'm going to block out an hour every single Tuesday to be my filming time. And I'm not going to have any meetings that
Right.
happen during that time. I'm going to have like one sacred hour on Tuesday to film my YouTube video, and kind of like the same for the other days as well.
It sounds like it's not about the skill, it's about having that discipline, right? And having built up that routine is more important than, of course, skill of talking, writing, scripting, editing, all that will play a role. But what it sounds to me is like you have to make up your mind about doing this every week. That's like fundamentally the first step people should take up. You forget about like the semantics of all things you said, which is like the process. That to me is something I'm also talking to myself while I'm talking to you right now, is that I never thought of that way. Like I will film a video every Tuesday at a certain time, and it's blocked. It's not like 8 hours, but it's only 1 hour. And of course, as we go, the 1 hour gets 45 minutes to half an hour, and you get better, right? Like at recording or like whatever the thing, the skill you do. Quick, specific question about editing, because I kind of personally hate editing. How important is editing in your opinion? For example, for me, and this is me, like I'm a one shot taker. Like I just take one shot, record it, and then I don't need like there is no way I can like stumble or anything, because I just talk naturally, as if I'm talking to you right now. But I see in your videos there are some zoom in, zoom out frames.
Mm-hmm.
You basically, like, Do you think that really makes the video much appealed to like just natural videos? What do you think about editing? How what is the role of it?
Editing is definitely very important. Um, but uploading weekly matters more. Um,
Hmm.
it's like my first videos that came out on my first channel. It's like I'd say like the basics that you probably should want to aim for in every video is having some sort of cuts, to cut out your like ums or uhs or mistakes or bad takes or other things.
Right.
Cuts also help with the pacing. So personally, I cut
Oh, I
out
see.
all of like these silences as well. So if I take like a deep breath
Hmm.
like in between sentences, I'll cut out that breath, and that way the pacing of the video is much quicker than it would be in a normal conversation. Um, so yeah, and there are also tools like recut is great for making like your first a cut by just cutting out all of these silences in your video, and it's like I think it's
Hmm.
like a one time $99 purchase and you have it for life. So there are tools that can help you as well.
Oh.
um so your cuts are important. After that, your text is really important too, especially for like talking head videos, which I think most people do, which is just like this. It's like, okay, like I have my talking head on screen talking to you. Um, Having text
Right.
is really important because when people come to YouTube, they want to watch something. And just a talking head
Right.
talking at you for 10 minutes is quite boring. So you need to add some sort of visual
Hmm.
elements to give them something to watch. Text is really great because you can just like, especially for the more visual learners as well, you can emphasize the key points with like text that just like says a
Sure.
certain like keyword or phrase or something else that comes up. um Additionally, I think icons are a really nice way to like add some more dimension to your videos as well. I use flat icon.
Hmm.
And you
Yeah.
can just get like a ton of icons there. And so now you have like icons and text popping up around you as you're speaking. I would aim for some sort of visual element, whether that be text or an icon or like an image or a like or B-roll. You can get some stock B-roll off of
Hmm. Hmm.
Pexels or create your own like a screen share would be B-roll, for instance. Have some sort
Right.
of visual element going on like at least every 10 to 15 seconds of your video, and that jumps to like every like 1 to 3 seconds in your hook. And lastly, I would say just have some like underlying background music. You want your
Hmm.
background music to be soft enough so that people don't really realize it's there, but loud enough so that if it cuts out for a second, people can tell that it's gone. And I
Hmm.
get my music from Epidemic Sound.
Hmm.
And it's like that's that's all you need for like a really decent above average YouTube video. Just
Hmm.
your cuts, some text and icons, some
Hmm.
B-roll if you can, and some
Stock
music.
images.
And that's it.
Right. It's very interesting. I was about to ask this question and you kind of answered, which is what's the secret recipe to make a video successful? I think you kind of covered everything, right? Like content, editing, uh, timing, which is going once every week. And I really like the process. I should talk to you a lot because I suck at these things, and I think probably like we'll have like another chat with the details. So let's talk about your creator life. I want to also talk about the YouTube everything. Probably you've covered most of them in your videos, but how is it like to be a creator first of all? And uh, you worked full time. What's like the biggest thing that you is the biggest shift as a creator that you saw from working full time and what you're doing right now?
Yeah. I'm gonna give an answer, and it might not be an answer that you were expecting. So like I had a couple of jobs before I quit. One was on Wall Street as a banker, one was working at a Series A VC backed startup. And during those times, especially working at the startup, the baking job was very chill. It was at the start of COVID. Everyone was remote.
Hmm.
I did like a lot of work, but it was very very boring work. Like
Hmm.
I was working on like a huge spreadsheet that took 15 minutes just to open. It had over 100 worksheets within the workbook,
Wow.
and
Right.
most of the inputs were manual that had to be taken from like PDFs that were emailed.
Wow.
Like it was awful.
It's
But
true desk job, I guess, maybe.
yes, it was awful. But the work that I did in the startup was very different. And I was like the first person to be in the office in the morning, one of the last people to leave at night. And I was working so hard and for so long. And I loved it. It was incredible. And the biggest shift that I realized when I became a creator is that my productivity plummeted. It was
Hmm.
so much more difficult for me to stay focused, for me to like become focused and keep focus. And I was really beating myself up about that for a long time. I was like, how was I able to work 70, 80 hours, sometimes 90 hours per week at a
Hmm.
startup, not feel burned
Right.
out, love it, and I can't even work 4 hours per day now without getting di- distracted. I just like could not understand why. And I
Hmm.
realized it was because of like the difference kind of in nature of work. When you're working in a startup or when you're working under a boss or when you have like a full-time job,
Right.
one, you are told which work to do, and two, you are constantly setting out fires. It's like you have deadlines that you need to meet. There are absolutely stakes, and things just pop up throughout the day, and you have to go and set out those fires. And I guess like
Hmm.
emotionally, like the type of work that is, it's much more triggered by your fight or flight. It's like, okay, like I have to get this done, there is no other choice. You're like pushed
Hmm.
into this mode and you can keep going. Versus in kind of like solo creator life, there is no real fight or flight. It's like I have to create all of that for myself. Like yes, I can say okay, I have to upload every single week, but like what happens if I don't? It's not like I get fired. It's not like, you know, it's not like people are going to go homeless because of me, right? They're not like direct customers that I'm like answering to. Um,
Right.
so it's like it all has to come from within, and that's really 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 freaking hard. It's very
Hmm.
hard to be able to like keep yourself focused when you don't have to put out fires. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that was probably the biggest change, at least like work wise and self wise,
Hmm.
that I realized from going from full time jobs to full time creator.
But I mean, you still have a lot of pressure as well, right? You have to make a living out of it. It's not like, of course, it's not super simple. But the better part is you get to do it on your own terms. You get to be your own boss, and you are the master here. You are the slave. You basically like decide everything. I think that's like the most important thing, right? Like, that's what I hear a lot of from my friends as well who are creators. It's the freedom. It's the ability to like do my own stuff under my
No,
own will.
100%. But I do think that like the whole concept of like, oh, it is the freedom to like do whatever you want. Like I feel like that's pretty known throughout anyone who is like, oh, I want to quit my full-time job to have more freedom and choose what I want to do. I feel like what isn't talked about as much is like how much harder it is to be productive on your own versus
Hmm.
when you're working for someone else.
Right. And how did you navigate that path, like being productive by yourself? You have to be extremely disciplined again to have certain routines, certain habits. Talk to me about your thought process as a creator every day. like how do you balance your emotions and like, okay, this is where I'm going and this is the right path? How do you decide the decision making and everything?
Yeah, it's really hard. I honestly don't think I have everything figured out yet. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like I started my creator journey 2 years ago,
Mm.
and it's taken me this long to figure out an idea or like a path, a track
Right.
that I'm excited about and that feels in alignment with who I am. So it's like it's taken a while even just to like discover this after trying so many things and ending up like, ah, I am getting so burnt out because this isn't actually what I want to be doing. And a lot of
Right.
questions of like, okay, if this feels bad to do, and like, why am I doing this when I could just do other work that feels bad and get paid a whole lot more for it, right?
Like
Um,
the desk job.
exactly, exactly. Working with a spreadsheet that takes 15 minutes to open. Um, so
That's so funny.
it was awful. It was awful. um, but yeah, I think now, as you said, a lot comes down to discipline and also like processes. I've also
Hmm.
noticed that like a specific like productivity tool or process or framework or what have you will work really well for a certain period of time, but after like that
Hmm.
month or month and a half, it'll stop being as effective. So then I have to like go and find a different one that feels good at that time.
So the clock resets, kind of,
Yeah,
right? Like, in
yeah.
it I can relate to it so much. Even though I'm not like a full-time creator, I sometimes feel like I get these ideas about some content which really works, and sometimes, man, like nothing. The mind, my mind goes like complete blank, and like you said, even efficiency wise, it goes like 10x down, not 10x up. So what do you do in certain events? Like, do you do like a hard pause, reset everything, take a break? What is your, you know uh, going from that phase to like again bringing your creative juices back?
I think it depends on like what the down phase is. I like if I've been having like a long period of time where like I'm doing some work and that work feels fine, but I'm not doing nearly like enough work as I want to be. Um, then I'll come up with like a rigid schedule of like, okay, no looking at social media, no watching the TV, no playing video games until
Mm.
9 p.m. at night. And like, okay, it's like I wake up in the morning, I go to the gym, I come back, I eat breakfast, I do admin work, and then that's like day one, which is like the morning. We like to
Right.
like split our day up into three days to feel like there's more like opportunities for a reset. And
Right.
then after the admin work, then it's like, okay, it's just a period of deep work, and then lunch, and then a period of deep work, and then dinner, and then some more work, and then it becomes 9 p.m. and then you can go off and do things. And it's like
Hmm.
if I feel like I am doing some work but not enough work, or I could be doing more, but I need more of like a kick in the butt, then I will like set myself to a very strict schedule. Now, what
Hmm.
also happened earlier last week is I was trying my hardest to do some work, but I just
Hmm.
couldn't do it. Like there's like a mental blocker in my head. Like I would sit
Hmm.
down and my brain would just go in like a zillion directions. It would take me 30 minutes to write one sentence. Like it was just really bad. What
Wow.
I needed in that point was like I thought I needed some rest, so I took like a rest day where I didn't do any work. I was just like on my computer and chilling. And the next morning I woke up and I still didn't feel good. I still felt bad. I was like, okay, well,
Hmm.
what? what if what I needed wasn't a rest day, but a recharge day? So I spent the next day after that spending more time with friends, going outside, going like through the downtown Denver and like a park and getting like a hot dog and an ice cream and just like sitting in the grass and looking up at the clouds
Mm,
and thinking about like, what I wanted to accomplish in life. And I came out
mm,
the next day and I felt, okay, I am ready to go. So I think like it kind of depends on like what's the source of your unproductivity. It's like, is it
mm.
because you need rest? Is it because you need recharge? Or is it because you need structure? So those are kind of the three that I try out.
That's so awesome, and I really appreciate you for sharing. Everything, like what you said. It takes a lot of courage to accept that I'm going through something. A lot many people, they just skip it, right? Because they don't have that self-awareness. Self-awareness is such a key aspect of everything we do as humans. So really appreciate. And the follow-up question I have is, you, of course, creators and everybody else will have the highs and lows. And being a creator, your, at least in my opinion, as a creator, your role is to fully focus on the inputs first and then later on the outputs. Like, what am I getting out of it? How do you balance the inputs versus outputs?
I mean, I think ultimately the only thing I can control is the input, right? It's like, yeah, I want to gain as many as subscribers as I can. Yes, I want to make as much money as I can doing the things that I love. But I cannot control how many people subscribe to my YouTube channel. I cannot control how many people watch my YouTube channel.
Sure.
All I can control is my own inputs. And I think it's important to like keep like in like an eye on what you want your outputs to be. I'm also like a large believer in like the power of manifestation and
Hmm.
visualization. It's like, okay, like you can never achieve something if you can't believe that it can happen. So I am a
Hmm.
big like, but I'm a large proponent of having dreams and visualizing your dreams and believing that they can happen. But after that, the only thing that you can do is input. And so then that just comes into like the processes that you have for yourself. I'm like, okay, I am making my weekly upload no matter what. I am doing these things no matter what. Because again, like that's
Right.
the only thing that you can truly control.
Again, talking about self-awareness, right? You basically have to be very, very much aware of your surroundings, the mental state you're in, and really like align to your reality. You can't really do 100 videos per week, which might generate like, so you have to be very, very mindful, very thoughtful, and very content about even inputs as well. So yeah, that's the way to go if you want to survive and thrive. That's how, we have to live. Focus on the inputs, focus on things you can control, and you know whatever it is, it happens and you have to live with it. Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit more specific about monetizing your YouTube channel. Where should like one focus on? And I want to understand, what are some lessons you learned in the process of monetization? For example, one specific question I have is, how do you price yourself, like per hour, consulting gigs or ad revenue, the things you learn? How do you like really set a certain level in terms of pricing? And where should people reach out to you? What's like the flow should look like? And everything, every tiny detail you learn as you go.
A big question here. I'll start out by saying that, at least from YouTube, there are four main ways to monetize a channel. One is going to be your ad revenue. That's probably what people are most familiar with, from your Google AdSense. And how that happens essentially, once you reach the monetization threshold, which is going to be 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, then you are accepted into the YouTube Partner Program. And what that does essentially is a very broad, the broad strokes is that you're able to take home 55% of the profit that YouTube makes from ads being shown on your videos. And that's kind of
Right.
determined by your views in your CPM. Your CPM is cost per bill. That's the cost
Mm-hmm.
in dollars that advertisers pay per 1,000 views on your channel. And your
Right.
CPM ranges a lot based off of your niche and your geography primarily. Um,
Right.
if your primary audience is in the US or like Australia, your CPM is going to be a lot higher than if your primary audience is based in Mexico or India. For niche
Right.
wise, I had like a motherhood vlogger friend of mine who had a CPM of 70 cents. A cooking channel might see a
Mm.
CPM of like $4. Like a tech or
Mm.
productivity channel might see a CPM of like $10 to $12. Getting up into the higher
Interesting.
CPMs, you have, the crypto and finance, I've seen over $25 or more. My own CPM when I was in the
Wow.
NFT space was like $23. So it was like very, very,
Wow.
very high. And so like
Mm.
a rough estimate of how much you would make from AdSense is multiply your CPM by your number of views. And that's how much
Mm.
money you will make from YouTube AdSense. Um, it's really cool that you
Interesting.
can make money like just from uploading your YouTube videos and nothing else. But the largest YouTubers view AdSense is just like a bonus, right? Because the main value of YouTube comes not from the AdSense itself, but from your ability to generate organic traffic and being able to
Mm.
direct that traffic to something else that is your own. Um, the other another way to make
So what
money
do you
from
mean
you.
when you say redirecting to an external? Is it like the product you're building or the course you're like selling? Is that what you mean?
Yep, yep, absolutely. That's one of the ways to monetize is through your own personal products. So it could be like a
Right.
course that you create, like BGTY is for me. It could be some digital downloads. Like if you were a cooking channel, could you come up with like menu cards, or if you were a language channel, some like some digital grammar cards or something, or even fifth physical products, or like kind of like the
Mm.
whole array of things that you can create to direct traffic to.
Nice. Uh, Couple of questions again from a specific standpoint. So for people who are, again, let's talk about only beginners, but it seems like in the thing really liked on your website is most YouTubers are successful. They can make relevant content to beginners because they're at a very higher stage, like they're at step 100, and that's why you started your course. And that's why I want to ask this question: what are some limiting beliefs that you think even you faced or people might face, that they have to like fight battle as they start, or even like become consistent at posting these videos, that people should
Something,
avoid first of all?
yeah, something that I experienced like literally just last week was I was scripting my next long form video, and the voice in the back of my head was just like, this video is not good enough, right? Like I have this goal to get 1,000 subscribers by May
Mhm.
21st. And this this voice in my head was like, this video will not get you there. This video has no potential to go viral. This is a bad video. And because of that, it was just like, it was the hardest thing in the world to just try to script this video, because like the cognitive dis- dissonance of like, okay, I need to script a video, but also this video is not good. Um,
Mm.
and it was so freaking hard. And I think like a lot of people go through this. And the
Mhm.
what I had to tell myself is that It's okay. Not every video is going to be a banger, and that's fine. Some of your videos are
Mm,
just going to be very meh, and that's okay. What matters most is that you
mm.
upload no matter what, no matter the quality of your video, just get it out there. Because what matters most at this stage is just building up a habit. When you're so early, you don't
Right.
have any of the muscle memory, any of the habit. Every single week feels like a whole new journey of like, oh, I have to get another video out this week. Like, start quality. Yes, it matters, but building the habit matters more. And you can focus more on the quality of your videos once it doesn't feel like torture getting a video out every single week, once that no longer feels like a battle. um and
Right.
yeah, that's probably a big one that a lot of people go through.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to what you're saying. Yeah, sometimes you just get stuck, and you basically have to pull yourself up and just like do it, like ship it, right?
Hmm.
The other thing I want to talk is YouTube Shorts. So, what are some things? First of all, do people even have to like pay attention? I know the answer, but I'm again asking for reassurance. Do even people have to pay attention to shorts while they make these long form videos? A number two is, how do you really crack the YouTube algorithm for shorts? Is there a
Yeah.
is there a pre-built way that you've tried and get
uh,
succeeded?
I'll say I am bad at YouTube Shorts. So like I am still trying to figure that out my myself. Like this is the first time I'm trying to do short form content as well. So
Hmm.
I've been uploading one short form video per day with this new
Hmm.
channel. And it's weird, man. It's weird. I definitely have not cracked the code whatsoever, so I cannot
Got it.
give advice on that. When it comes to like, are they worth focusing on? First and foremost, focus on your long form content. If you can
Hmm.
add some short form to that, awesome. But only do that after you have your long form content done and out, and that feels
Right.
okay. Because, like, yes, you can theoretically get a lot more views with your short form videos, but at least how everything is structured right now across all platforms, across YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, monetizing your shorts or trying to like build a dedicated community or audience around your shorts is a
Hmm.
whole lot harder than doing that through long form content. Long form content is still king, like especially when it comes to monetization. Like I hear creators all the time who are raking in like tens of millions of views on their shorts, and they still don't
Hmm.
make as much money as someone with like a fraction of those views in long form videos and a fraction of their
Got
subscriber
it.
size in long form videos. So focus on long form first. And then if you have any extra time or energy, that's when you can start experimenting with shorts.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. What you said, even from a behavioral standpoint, which is focus on building the habit first, and then you can really like break the long form videos into short form and like schedule and whatnot. Make it more smarter. So two more topics I want to ask you. One is, you are a big proponent of building in public, right? And what kind of role that it played in your YouTube journey, and where do you usually go to build in public? I know Twitter, but generally, like, what is your process like? Do you use any distribution channels to share your journey of going from zero to one and so on and so forth?
Yeah. Build in public has probably been like everything for me. My like strongest fans and strongest friends that have come from the internet have been through these like putting myself out there in public and building in public, and a lot of the opportunities that I've had, um like
Hmm.
paid opportunities that I've had, have come from building in public as well. I think it's also helped build a lot of my credibility in doing these things, because I don't come out there and saying,
Hmm.
I'm an expert about YouTube. No, it's like if people want to, they can read the entire journey from me just creating my
Mm.
very first video and being like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I released this video
Mhm.
and I hope it's okay. All the way to my rationale for starting a brand new channel and what my strategy is for my brand new channel. When it came to my course as well, it's like I announced my course with like a full outline of every single lesson that I was going to include in my course. And there are like
Mm.
30 of them. It's a lot. And it's like I'm I I feel I'll say I'll preface this by saying I'm awful at sales. I am so bad at sales. I hate selling. It
Mm.
just makes me feel all like squirmy. Um, but I feel like I don't really need to sell as much when I'm building in public because it's like, hey, I'm just gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna be very honest. This is my
Yeah.
approach to everything. This is how I think about everything. This is where all of my expertise is coming from. If you vibe with this, if you see this and you like it, then you can come. Like my door is open. I have all these options to choose from. You can come in. If not, that's totally cool. You do you and I'll do
Mhm.
me, and that's fine. Um,
Mm.
and so I feel like because I'm so bad at sales, building in public is probably like slash content marketing is like the
Mhm.
only thing that has driven any sort of traffic to any of my paid products or services. So that's huge. And when it comes to like what I share, it's really just like my process. Like
Mm.
my process, both in terms of like my actions and my thoughts.
Mhm.
Whenever I am like approaching something or doing a new thing. Right now, as I said, I'm trying to like build my YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers in 6 weeks. So every week I come up
Mm.
with a weekly update. I've been doing video updates recently, and those have been doing pretty good as well.
Yep.
I just like give like a short video about like where it was last week, where it was this week, what were the
This
things that
week,
I
yeah.
did this week, what worked and did not work, and other things like that. And I feel like people also love to feel like they're a part of something and they love to live
Mhm.
vicariously through others. And so it's like
Mm.
the more detail that you can get as you're going through this process, the more that people are going to like want to follow along because instead of
Yeah.
like my channel, it's become our channel that we're like
Right.
growing to the certain point because people get invested, and that's key.
Right.
Once you get people like truly invested in what you're doing and rooting for you, you are going to win.
Yep. 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 That's 100% true. It feels like, you're kind of narrating my journey as a founder of Shoutout. Same thing. You basically, if you're vulnerable, show it. If you're successful, show it. If you feel terrible, show it. Everything, be more transparent. And also, like, kind of, once you put your story out, credibility is something uh, that you achieve, but more importantly, you become more accountable, right? You are kind of, it feels like, yes, I am accountable to these people, I'm accountable to myself. So you take ownership as well from sharing your story. And there is, I feel, I'm a huge proponent. And uh, what you said, I want to do it with the side projects I have. And I feel, yeah, it's game changing for everybody, especially people who belong to internet. They have to build in public, and there is no downside. So the other thing I want to talk is community, right? You're building a course. I'm sure you have like a community around your course, and of course, YouTube audience itself is a or a community. What's the community role, and when did you discover the power of you know like-minded folks coming together, that you actually like, okay, I have to like really, this should be my edge. When did you realize that?
I mean, I first came onto Twitter because when I was doing my startup, a friend of mine said, "Hey, if you want to do a startup, you should go on Twitter because there are a lot of smart people who hang out on Twitter. So go there." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess." Um, and I just kind of like fell into it, and I think like once once I started to realize, like, oh, hey, the more that I interact with other people, the more I grow on Twitter.
Mm,
This is interesting. This probably means something. And so then my Twitter audience started to grow, and like the biggest thing I think that I've realized for myself in terms of like the role of community and how it plays for me is one, like the more that more active I am, the more vulnerable I am, the more my sense of community grows, and the larger my community grows and the stronger that my community grows, the more fire that I have within myself to create, because
mm,
I feel supported and I don't feel as alone. And I feel like I
right,
have people who are rooting for me and people who believe in me, and I don't want to let them down.
right.
And so it's like, like I feed them and they feed me, and there's like amazing circle here. And also, just like a
Right.
side note too, is that anything that I launch will have like its first 10 subscribers or purchases or anything else because of the community there. Like anything that I'm going to do is going to have a warm open, not a
Mm-hmm.
cold open. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that helps a lot in terms of like the courage to start something
Right.
new, because I know that something is going to come from it, even if it's the tiniest thing. And as we all know, getting from 0 to 1 is the hardest part. Getting your first
Mm-hmm.
sale, getting like your first couple of subscribers. So the role of the community, at least for me, is that it helps take away the fear and the challenge of getting from 0 to 1. So I'm always
Mm,
starting out at 1 when I go off and do
right.
anything new.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think community is your cheerleading group in a way, right?
Yeah.
They're the true fans, and I think that's why it's really hard to find like-minded folks. It's not like you go out and people really like cheer for you. So one last question from my end, but I do have like an audience question we can dive into. So what's the unconventional way of growing on YouTube?
The unconventional way of growing on YouTube?
Yep.
Like I feel like my keyword research answer probably still holds true here. And then again, like most people just try to like go towards like the types of titles and thumbnails that the largest
Right.
YouTubers are trying out. So I do feel like that keyword research is like, okay, like it's like, yes, people do know about it, but I feel like it's still pretty unconventional in like the grand scheme
Mm,
of YouTube. Also, um, something that I tried out this time around when I started my brand new channel, which was really interesting, is instead of just launching with one video, I launched with four
mm,
videos uploaded on my channel. So I
okay.
completed four entire videos before I told people about my channel, and I uploaded them all at the same time. I was like, yes, my new channel is out. And I did that to increase my watch hours, because like I want to create more
Mm,
bingeability. I knew that I was going to have like a
mm,
large initial rush of people coming to my channel because they're like, "Oh, it's a new channel. Let's go and check it out."
right.
So I'm like, okay, instead of only having one video for them to watch, can I direct them to my channel? And then if they want to, they can watch all four videos and get my watch hours up.
Mm,
So that was just
nice.
also something that I tried.
Yeah, I think that's smart, right? You basically feed more content, and yeah, of course, people will stick to you, and they watch like the rest of the folks. So here's one question from one of our Twitter audience. This is from Hi. You know, I met him a couple days ago. I'm like helping him launch his product on Product Hunt. Shout out to him for asking this. So his question is, why did you decide to focus on YouTube instead of other channels? Typically, YouTube is counted as a long-term investment. Is that something why you did it versus like focusing on TikTok or Instagram Reels, for example?
Yeah, I think so. I started out on Twitter And the reason why I didn't go into TikTok or Instagram Reels or anything like that is because I love long form. Short form is still
Mm.
meh to me. I am definitely warming up to it a lot more. But again, like I am a storyteller at heart, and I'm also an educator at heart. And I truly believed in like the lasting power of YouTube. And like, hey, I've watched videos from years ago that were so tremendously helpful to me right now. I want to make those types of videos. I want to make videos that have lasting power that can come in now and people
Right.
can watch it years from now and be like, this was incredible and this could like set me off to my next thing. And like when I when I was but when I was 10, I wrote a book. It was like a 310 page typed out
Wow,
font size
really?
12 fantasy novel, and it just sits on
Wow.
my computer. It took me like 2 years to write when I was like 10 to like to 10 to 11 to like 12ish. And that's was
That's
never
amazing.
published.
You're
I
no,
thanks. Like
that
I don't think it will ever be published. Who knows? It still holds a very special place in my heart. But it's like for me through YouTube, it's kind of like getting to publish a story every week. You know, it's like it's an educational story. It's one that's supposed to help people, but
mm,
every single week I get to write and create and publish. And
mm,
like I do feel like it's like really like kind of like supporting this inner child of mine who always wanted to publish her creative work, and it's like now I get to do that, and I get to do that. I get to do that. I get to do that every week, and the content that I am launching, that I am publishing every week, hopefully is content that is useful and valuable to
mm.
people in the future and for years from now. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's all. Oh my God, you're. I think you're. You kind of start very early. 10 years is such an early age to like start writing. So
Yeah.
I want to manifest on your behalf that the novel gets published at some point in your life, so that people get to read it. So I know it's been like a lengthy conversation, but I want to also ask this question, which you touched about, storyboarding, which you just mentioned. Do you have any tips for people? Because at the end of the day, it's the person, the creator, is kind of narrating a story, even though it's like specific knowledge. You talk about startups or anything, but it should captivate other people's attention. How do you storyboard? Or that's not that's one. Number two is like any tips that you provide for creators.
Yeah. Before I script every single video, I answer 7 questions every single time. And these 7 questions are:
Mm,
who is the character? What do they want? Why can't they get what they want? What are the stakes? So, what
mm,
happens if they don't get what they want? Who or what helps them? How do they get what they want? And how are they transformed by this experience? And I answer these 7
mm.
questions in the context of every single one of my YouTube videos before I script them. And it really helps me like
Wow.
frame the video in a sense of like exactly who is the viewer, exactly what do they want, and like all of these other things. And like I can, if I can really help like amp up the stakes, then all of a sudden creates a more relatable and more compelling story and journey that they're now taken on, from the beginning state of, oh, I want this but I can't have this, to, oh, at the very end I am transformed by watching this video and everything that has come from that. So I do that for every
Right.
single long form video of mine.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're definitely going to like include those in the show notes for people, like, to catch. I just want to end this episode on that high note, because I think this has been like a very uh, technical discussion about being a creator on YouTube. And I really appreciate you for sharing all your insights, lessons, the methods, the frameworks, everything. So Before we close out, do you have anything to share with the folks who are listening?
I'll just say that no matter what you're going through, you are not alone. If you're struggling to create YouTube content, it happens to all of us. And if you ever
Hmm.
want to chat, my DMs are open on Twitter and you can come say hi and I don't bite. I am kind of friendly. So yeah.
Awesome, that's awesome. Yeah, we will also like include your course and the new YouTube channel you're growing, part of Build Space, as well in the show notes. But yeah, this has been great, Aprilynne. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And yeah, stay tuned, guys, for more of such insightful conversations. I love unpacking these stories with creators and founders. So yeah, stay tuned and thanks for tuning in. Cheers.